Hi, I'm Willie. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. And what we're going to look at in this video is the burning question of what does my UniFi firewall block by default? I've had this question come up a few different ways in a few different flavors. And let me just say that this not only covers your UDM, your UXG, your USG, but this is going to be pretty much the same for a lot of firewalls. So your Grandstream firewalls, Synology, name a Linux distribution, pfSense, OpenSense. Now with OpenSense and pfSense, you do have to add and allow all rule for traffic to work at all. So by default, nothing works until you add that rule. But once you add that rule for OpenSense and pfSense, then you're into the same rule set that a lot of these firewalls come with. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop over to my UDM Pro, which, by the way, has been, upgraded to that 3.0.20 release. And we're gonna take a look at the firewall and talk about it a little bit more. So here is the UDM Pro. So you've got the WAN and you've got the LAN. So if we hop over here and we go to the firewall rules, by default, you can see that there is two rules that say accept all. We've got some internet rules. And these internet rules that you see here, and we're going to forget about Internet 6 because I'm not running IP version 6. We're not going to talk about LAN version 6 or guest version 6. And we don't have any guest rules at the moment because we don't have a guest network. So by default, this is the set of rules that comes with your Ubiquiti firewall. You've got very similar rules on other firewalls. And if you want to know about one of those other firewalls that we support, ask down in the comments. We'll fire it up and we'll take a look at those. But this was kind of the easiest to look at. So you've got these rules that talk about internet in, which allow established related and drop invalid state. So by default, what is our UDM? What is it allowing or not allowing? Well, let's talk about that. All right, so we've got our firewall here. Let me bring up the Epic pen here. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide this in half. This is WAN over here, and this is LAN. Okay? And by default, you have to remember I'm using the word default. By default, unsolicited traffic that we did not request is not going to get through the UDM. It is going to bounce off, or it's not really going to bounce, but it's going to be dropped or rejected. Now, by default, on the inside of the LAN, if we send traffic out, then the request is going to come back. It is going to traverse through the firewall by default. Now, here's the other thing that I wanted to clarify. By default, and this is true of most of the firewalls, by default, we can send out to any port, 80, 443, 5001, 53, name a port, and by default, we can send to almost everything. In fact, there are no default rules on the firewall. There are no default rules here blocking any outbound traffic by default. So you have to build those. So if you want to block 80 or 5001, I don't know why you'd block 80, but some people do. Or if you want to block, some crazy, BitTorrent, I'm just making this up, port 30,000. If you want to block this because torrents are running on it, then you have to create a rule on the firewall to block this, because by default, we can send out to any port. So if you want to block any of these ports, you have to build a firewall rule that doesn't allow you to do that. So I hope that helps. And really where this came up was I had a client who has an MFP in an office, and the people who manage the MFP keep telling him, you're blocking port 80 and 443. Well, Outbound, for that MFP to connect out to their management platform, we are not blocking anything by default. And this happens to be a TP-Link router. So by default, we're allowing all outbound traffic, which means if we are allowing it outbound, whatever's responding is going to traverse through the firewall. I hope that helps people understand that by default, when you request traffic, as long as it's legitimate, it's established related, it's going to make it back through the firewall. But by default, no unsolicited traffic can just start creating connections into your network. That would be a huge fail on the firewall. So if you've got questions about this, if you want to see me set up some firewall rules talking about this, let me know down in the comments. And if you like this video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe, please comment and share. Please follow me on Twitter and TikTok. Those links are down below, along with our affiliate links and Patreon links if you'd like to support the channel that way. And if you need IT consulting, go on over to williehowe.com, click Hire Us or Contact Us. Fill that form out, and someone will be in touch with you as soon as possible. Once again, I'm Willie. I want to thank you for being here. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.